Good evening. On behalf of the board, speaking as one board member, I want to thank everyone for being here today. As a father, there's a lot of fathers in the room. As a father, we quickly learned that our job is to protect. And we learned that our job is to support, protect our families and to protect our partners and our children. The challenge becomes when you can't protect them from something that you have no control of. You can't protect them from whatever's in their system, whatever is in their genes, whatever's in their head, whatever is part of them that ends up challenging them. You can't do anything. You can't change that. The best you can do is pay attention, talk to your preschool teacher, understand how your child is responding, participating, socializing, and that's what happened with our youngest, Miguel. And he was not socializing and speaking in preschool. And when the teacher made us aware of it, my wife and I immediately began reaching out in our circle to say, hey, this is something. And that was almost 20 years ago. Fortunately, the late Richard Rayner, good friend, and then chair of the CDI board, introduced me to Joan. And Joan invited me to come to CDI and have my son reviewed, diagnosed, analyzed, whatever word you want to use it, and gave us the first indication that my son was on the spectrum. And we, and at their urging, CDI's urging, we took my son to LUSD and they diagnosed him with high functioning autism. And that's very scary. That's very scary. You immediately get images. You immediately think of all the things you see on TV and read about children with autism, and you scares the shit out of you. And what did I do wrong? How did I not protect my son? Did I do something to make this happen? And after you go through all that, then you get into, back into protection mode. And my wife and I immediately accessed every service that was available, be it from the regional center, be it back at CDI. And my wife's life was basically all about my son 7 days a week in regional center. And she basically sacrificed, to some extent, her freedom to throw everything at it, just throw every service. Thank God she did, thank God we did. My son is now a freshman at Chapman University. Just wanted to share all that with you to basically tell you about how CDI has been a part of our life for the past 20 years.
So I'm Robert Kahn, and I've been on the board of CDI for almost 15 years. Very similar story in terms of what Roberto just shared, and I learned a lot just now that I didn't even know about Miguel. And I think you'll hear in a different way some parallels to Roberto's story and our family's story. So when our son Alex was identified as having some challenges, my wife Cindy, who's here, she did similarly. She just reached out immediately to everywhere she could, and CDI was one of the key places that we went to when we were really grasping for a path forward, right? Heard what Roberto said, the fear sets in, what do you do? And it gets a little bit out of control. And we found in CDI a lot more than we imagined we would. And we found the clinically based treatments that were designed to help Alex thrive. But I think more than that, what we found was a community of people. Community of people who were coming from diverse backgrounds, but all basically dealing with the same challenges, right? And our stories, there's so much, and I imagine there's those of you out there that are feeling the same way. And from that community, we met a lot of really loving families that really wanted to help, that viewed our situation as their situation. And they became like our family. And CDI became for us a real place where we found stability and purpose and hope in a time that was very dark. It felt really, really, nothing in life prepares you for this. Now, tonight's called the Dad Factor for a reason, right? I think the message gets lost sometimes, but dads are really, really important in raising our children. And even more so when your child has some learning, emotional, or intellectual differences. Just like for moms, it can be really tough balancing. We just talked about it, right? Work, family, friends, other obligations, other children. But we have 3 boys, sort of 2 on the spectrum, 1 not. So one of the real challenges, right? It's a challenge. How do you balance all that? In fact, I was sharing what I was going to speak about here tonight with one of my sons, and he said, "Dad, how did you balance all that? What did you do?" And I told him, I said, I had to dig deep. I sacrificed. And I didn't always take care of myself in the way I should have. And I made a lot of mistakes. And I thank God every day for my wife, because she was a rock. She understood what she had to do. And like Roberto's wife, driving the kids to and from school, sometimes 3 different schools, sports, events, all of that, and trying to keep it together. But I think that one of the things that happens is that as men, we're expected to bear up. And we don't realize that we feel it too. And I think that having been on the journey for a long time, I've come to realize that dads, we feel the impact of these challenges differently than moms do. And dads can sometimes have a real hard time with these diagnoses, right? It hits us like a 2x4, and then it can be really tough looking at your friends and seeing your friends' kids, and they're doing something that your child can't yet, or that they may never be able to do. And so, when I think about it, there's no magic pill. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to let go of those feelings and to let go of the judgment that we feel from other people. I mean, that's the world we live in. People are judging, and I wish it wasn't that way, but it's one of those things where we all, as we're growing and developing into adults, hopefully we figure out that what's important is what you do, not what other people say about what you do. I had a moment in our local Nordstrom, a couple miles away, when Alex was 3. He was having a really bad meltdown. I mean, just splat out on the floor, lost it. And an older lady came up and scolded us, wagging her finger in our face. And I'm not proud about it, but I got in her face and I really let her have it. I mean, I just told her off. And I guess, well, yeah, thank you. But it's what you said, Roberto. I went into protection mode. Someone's trying to hurt my child. Well, the reality is that I really didn't like the way it made me feel. I didn't like that part of me that came out, because now I was out of control and someone else was telling me something, and I was reacting instead of controlling myself. And more importantly, my wife reminded me very appropriately that I don't owe anybody an explanation. I don't owe them my time or my energy, other than my family. That's it. And so from that day on, I decided that I was going to do things differently. And the way that I could fulfill my role as a father was just to be present, to be engaged, and to really be part of the process of addressing Alex's needs. And so I did everything I could to learn everything that made him tick, to build a relationship with him, and really to stop thinking about what other people thought. That was a big moment for me personally, and it changed the way I engaged, and it really reduced my own anxiety. I was a better father because I wasn't stressed out as much, still stressed out. And that really allowed me to be part of the solution rather than a roadblock into what was already a challenging situation. Now, our experiences with CDI really helped Cindy and I to let go of our expectations and just to really think about, how do we help Alex build the best life he can have? Today, he's a junior at UC Berkeley. He's studying computer and data science. He's in an a cappella group, and he spends time on the weekends with his friends. Now, he still has his struggles. Like you said, the social issues become adult social issues. We still help him sometimes because that's what we're always going to be there to do. But he's making his way, and I couldn't be more proud of him. One of the ways I give back now is I'm a martial arts instructor. And I work with typically developing and neurodivergent teens and adults. And a big chunk of what we try and do is to instill in them confidence, respect, and discipline that they'll need to thrive in their lives. And in fact, Alex does that as well when he comes home from school. So, you can have someone who went through this, sees it through his own eyes, and then comes back around, and now he's helping children with similar issues. A big chunk of the reason why my family is engaged in these things is because of what we learned at CDI. Because CDI showed us what it's really like when you have a community of people who care and want to give back, and how important it is to be a part of the solution. So I'll finish up by saying that as dads, I think we need to really make sure that we address the way we're feeling. Don't shy away from those feelings. Take the time. Give yourself some grace, give yourself permission to not be a superhero 24/7. Recharge your batteries because your family needs you. And find a community, whether it's CDI or whatever community you can, find a community that understands, wants to be a part of that. I can tell you without question that CDI is a place to build those relationships and to learn those skills. So, thank you.